Hi there, welcome. First of all, I'm going to start off by saying this is not going to be exactly the same as what we created, but it's going to be there in the ballpark somewhere. I'm going to make it go along. So I'm starting off in the Stobe Illustrator. I'm going to go to a new 800 by 800, and doesn't really matter, it's a square. And we're just going to grab some text. We're going to do XG because that's your logo. And we're just going to make it larger, constrain it, holding the shift key, change the font to ethnocentric is what I used in your example. And I'll come back to the character and take the tracking. I'm probably going to put it to -265. A bit more. I'm going to be rushing through this because obviously it's quite a lot to go through in such a short time, reducing the whole wallpaper. It's about 295, just wait until it's nice and dead straight line on the bottom there. That brings it to the top. So I'm going to select the object and go to Object Expand. Objects and Fill selected, yes. And then you'll see we've got these complicated paths here. So what we want to do is select them all and go to Unite and take them away. But I'll just leave these anchor points here that are unnecessary and may cause a bit of issue in Cinema 4D. So we're just going to delete them. Okay, so there we go. That's your file pretty much set up, ready to go. So we're just going to go to File Save, and I call this XG. Save it as an Illustrator. But we're going to go to Illustrator 8 because that's what's compatible with Cinema 4D when we're importing it in. Saving download formats, yes, that's fine. And we're just going to close that down. As you can see, it's on the desktop there, ready to go. Then we're going to open up Cinema 4D. And we're going to come up to here and go to File, Merge Objects. I'm going to go back to your desktop. You can see that there's the XG Adobe Illustrator, and this will just bring the paths into Cinema 4D. I'm going to put a scale as 2, that's fine because it's only a path, so there's no detail that can be lost really. And as you can see, it doesn't quite put it in your viewport, so you just come to your X position and your Y position and zero those out, and that should center it nicely. There we go. So that's now your logo there. Excuse me. So then we just want to extrude it and actually turn it into an object rather than a path. So to do that, we're just going to come up here to the nubs and get the extrude. We're going to make the path a child of the extrude. And we're going to set the extrude to a good thickness. So when you rotate round, it should all look nice and smooth. And that is the base of the logo now. So we're going to add a bit more detail to that. We're going to duplicate this one. On the copy of it, we're going to change the caps. We're going to just do a fillet or a fillet, depends how you want to pronounce it. And we're just going to put that up to 6. Okay, so that now will give you this external cap to make it. So if I put the white on the external, you can see that's how you get that cool text with the outer shell. There are different ways with selection tools and everything, but I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible. So we might as well create the yellow material as well while we're at it, and we'll fine tune it later on to give it the sexy look. You know, and I did that as grey. I suppose you can keep it white if you like, but we want it to be quite dark because by the time it's got the reflections on, so now you can keep it like that. It's a bit flat looking, so I'm just going to actually change some of the settings on my yellow extrude. With the cap, I'm actually going to change it to fillet cap and fillet cap, and I'm going to change the step level to, let's go for engraved. That'll give you this nice little indentation there. Check it's not causing any problems anywhere else, because here, where that overlaps, it may cause a bit of an issue, but you can fine tune that all later on. So that is basically your text done. So now, I use Grayscale Gorilla Light kits for most of my lighting, in all fairness, but I'm going to go with the assumption you don't have that, so I'm just going to create a plane, lift it up, go to MoGraph and Cloner. You may not get the cloner if you don't have the full version. And then we're going to change to cloner, we're going to change it from linear to grid away. Put the Y just as 1 on the account. And then we're just going to spread the distance up. To like that. Then we're going to take the plane, maybe make them just 200 actually, because I think they're too big for a light. And then we can go back to the cloner and then bring the distance down again. And that will make it so. And these are basically going to be little homemade lights, so we need the material for them. And all we're going to do is come in and check the luminance. Luminance is basically brightness, so you just put that on your cloner. And you can move your cloner up slightly. Move it across, bring it back a bit. Oh. Just going to get the overall scale and just drag it up a bit, so there's plenty of light coming out from there. I'm just going to move it back a touch. Oh, be careful not to tick the yellow squares. Move it up. There. Grab the rotate tool. Rotate it. Okay, so now let's work on the actual screen resolution. We want 1920 by 1080 because I'm doing a HD wallpaper. Excuse me. Oh, mistyping. So I'm on a laptop and not in the best position. And we'll click save. Change the save location onto desktop. We'll call this XG. Click save. We want to select it as a PNG. Oh, PNG. And then we're going on to the alpha channel. I do apologise about rushing this, but otherwise it's going to be 30+ minute video, and I'm sure you don't really want to sit through that to get the basics. Okay, so now we're just going to position the text how we want it based on our screen. And something like that looks good, so then grab the rotation tool. And I'm going to select these two and just rotate it just like that. Then reposition it as we possibly can. You don't want to go outside. See this little thin dim line here? You don't want to go inside there. And we're just going to get it in the best possible position. We might have to fake it a bit in Photoshop once it's done. And now we're going to just insert a camera. You don't need to do the camera, it just makes it a lot easier so you can go around and do a bit more editing. If it's white in this little section here, then it means you're looking through the camera. If it's black, then it means you can zoom around and carry on working as much as you like. And then just select in the camera and it'll bring you back to that point. Okay, and so now we need to add a bit of sexiness to the materials, I suppose. So let's bring up the luminance on this one. We're going to bring it right down to a bit of percent and change the colour to a grey. Okay, then we're going to add a bit of reflection to check that box, and we're going to change the texture style to Fresnel. And we're going to change, because it's got lights directly above it, that's just going to reflect them straight away. So you want to just turn it down to being quite low, but enough so you still get to catch the reflection. And I think that's it for that one. And same for the yellow. We're going to add some colour, we're going to add a bit of luminance on there. And we're not going to have that, we're going to have it about 36% brightness, should be fine. Oh, it's got luminance in it, so it's going to be hard to see the reflection, but I'll add a bit just anyway so it just catches the highlights. and we just want that on a low mix strength. So about 25 on mix and the brightness should be fine for that. Okay, we're going to add, we're just going to check what the light is doing in relation to the actual text. Obviously that's the important part, and we may actually rotate that part so it actually mixes with the text a bit better, and that should clear off any anti-aliasing issues you may get. Let's go back through the camera, do a quick test render, see what that looks like. Okay, not so great at the moment, so let's start adding some special effects. So we'll add ambient occlusion, put the contrast up to 10% effects, and we'll add a bit of global illumination. Then we can just keep that as the standard, because otherwise it will just take too long to render. And we'll just give that a quick render test through preview, see if we need to add more lights. Now obviously as soon as you add the global illumination, it does considerably add to your rendering time, but does give it a bit more quality and a bit more contrast. Sorry, I'm just taking a drink. As you can see by that, we haven't got much reflection, so our lighting's still wrong. So let's get out of the camera view. Let's see why our light, just the lighting so it suits it. A bit bigger. And as you can see, it should be just starting to catch on the front. Let's just go to the camera, check it's not in view yet, and see what that comes up like. It may be a case that we might have to actually increase the illuminance of the yellow channel and the grey channel, because that's what's causing the issue here. But there you go, you can see now we've got a bit more reflection. So not quite how I'd like it, but I haven't got time to correct it or change it. And in all fairness, I normally use a softbox for this kind of work. I'm just going to go into this luminance channel, change the brightness up a bit so it's just a bit brighter. And that because in global illuminations it's the luminance that shows up and not the lights as such. And then what I'm going to do is actually delete this light rig that I had set up, and I'm just going to come in and use a grayscale gorilla overhead softbox, and I'm going to put in a normal softbox, and then I'm going to position this so you can see it properly. Move that softbox back. I'm just going to position it just so it catches the front, so when the flare comes in it would actually suit it a bit more. Go back to our objects, go to the overhead softbox. I'm going to bring that down a bit, across, rotate it, move it, just going to move it forward a bit, rotate it again, go back to the camera view and see what this is coming up like being rendered now. As you can see, you've got a long top where the white is, that's going to be your light angles and the brightness of the reflection, so you can get a rough idea what it's going to look like before it's actually rendered out. Now obviously using softboxes and everything adds to the render time, but there you go, with increasing the luminance of the yellow channel, adding the softbox so it's a softer light, it just gives it that nicer look. And there we go, I quite like that. That's good, it's got a nice pastel look to it. So I'm going to just make one more variation tweak, where I'm going to actually make that grey slightly darker, and from there want it totally black because nothing's totally black, and I do like it as being a bit of an off grey. And there you go, so the reflection will do that. And I'm just going to click render because I've already chosen where to save it. I'm doing it as a PNG alpha channel. It's loading up. I'm doing this quite quick, and I'm going to have to cancel that because I've obviously moved my camera and it's just clipping off the corner there, and we can't have that, can we? So there we go. I'm going to click render, and because I've got it as cached, it should render quicker this time. It's already started it there. Obviously this is different to the one that was actually provided in the example, because this is just a quickly job. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're already at 15 minutes, so it's already getting to a long, boring video, which I do apologise about. So I can actually pause it, thinking of it while waiting for this final render, even though it's about 30 seconds away. But hey ho. Okay, so that's rendered out just as we like it, and I do apologise for being a bit longer, but it was paused, so it shouldn't make any difference. Something came up on the phone. So we can click out there, that's fine. Now then, for the next stage, just show you what that's produced. That has produced this, which is basically just the text only, the logo, obviously nothing there yet. So what we're going to do is use the same scene, and I'm going to delete these and put in just a cube. That's all I used on there. I'm going to use a plugin called Throwsy, which is a free plugin for Cinema 4D. And I'm going to break it up to 25 pieces just to save time on this one. And click break now. And that is just breaking this into, you can see, shards. And this is how we got the effect. As you can see, it's created two materials. We did it as a glass, so we're going to change the colour to yellow. We're going to have a lighter yellow. And we're going to put the transparency on that one, but we're going to turn it right down on the brightness. I'm just going to put the refraction up to about 1.8. Okay, and 2. That gives you the glass. We're going to just increase the transparency a bit more. Add a bit of reflection to it, and do that for an L again. And that's how I got the glass effect. Now for the inside of it, we're going to go slightly darker. I'm going to go yellow again, but a darker yellow. Now, transparency, I'm going to turn that a bit further down. Put the refraction up a bit. Refraction is basically how it reacts. 1.8 is actually 1.4 is glass. I think 1.8 is water. And we're just going to take the reflection up on that again, put it to for now. And we're just going to add a bit of yellow boost to that as well on the reflection. Okay. Then we're going to go to the effects here, choose explosion, make that a child of the cube, and then we're just going to increase the strength up, and you can see that's your glass. We want it to be in quite centered. Increase the speed, and we'll just randomize it a bit more. Just change to random. Okay, then we're gonna, so we don't overwrite the same file, we're gonna actually change this and call it glass. Okay. And what we didn't do is add some, we're going to turn off global illumination on this one just so it doesn't delete it all out, and just click render, and that should just render through the glass. Should be quite quickly. Obviously if you have a look at global illumination with all these cracks and pieces, it will just take a long time to render. and we don't have time to do that because I'm at an event in about half an hour and I'm still not ready and I'm still a bit behind. I'm just going to pause that while it's rendering. Okay, it's just rendered out, and obviously it's a bit of a hideous render because I haven't got time to do a proper one, but then that is your Cinema 4D stuff done. So what we want to do is open up Photoshop, and then we're going to just bring in the first image, and then we're going to bring in the glass, and then we can start working on putting it all together. Okay, I want the glass to go behind the text, and as you can see, because I didn't light it all properly, the glass actually looks pretty dull and rubbish. But this is just a technique. So now I'm just going to create a whole control, create a new layer on the bottom. I'm just going to fill that with just black, or whatever colour, just so I can see what's going on. That's better, I can see my glass now. I'm going to do Control J. I'm going to fill this with actually more of the grey colour that I think I used before. I'm going to go a bit lighter this time. Then I go to Filter, Noise, Add Noise, and that'll be fine. Then I'm going to take that to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur, put a 45-degree angle, and that's how I created the edges on that. There you can mess with blending modes if you like. You'll probably find there's some options will give you a better effect, and some not so good. So now let's start positioning this up. So first of all, we need a bit more space from the background so it's not too busy and crowded. I'm just going to move this over here, and I'm going to make this XG text a bit smaller because I don't think it needs to be that big. And I'm just going to rotate it so it goes with the pattern a bit more, and move that this way. Enter. Then I'm going to create an adjustment layer and do hue saturation, create a clipping mask onto that so it's just affecting the glass. You can see you got your... I'm actually just, because I bodged it up, I'm going to colorise it and then make it a bit more yellow. In there, take saturation up. I don't want it to be that green, change it to yellow a bit more. Take the lightness up a bit. There you go. I'm just going to transform that glass because what I didn't do was base it on the actual lettering beforehand, and because it's all high res you can just adjust it as you pretty much like. And you can actually probably just mask out some of it because, like I said, I went for the quick. So just going to apply a layer mask, get your paintbrush tool, paint in black, and just you don't need it all. Okay, then on here we're going to create a new layer. I'm going to fill it with a colour, it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to go to another plugin that I use. It's Red Giant software, it's called Null Light Factory. This was actually generated by one of the original creators of Photoshop. I'm going to select this lens flare. I'm going to put on the background layer of probably layer layer 2, no, layer 1, 0 then, which is this one. And I'm just going to position the flare to be just on this corner here, and click OK. Set that to screen, and now you can start seeing it's all coming together. And maybe we could do with putting that layer just below the glass so it's not totally blinding this glass out. And it's just a case of getting the text tool, write in, I think your name was Xiled Gaming, and I'm trying to colour this part to match that yellow. Make this text a bit darker. Then transform it. Rotate it. I made it so the Xiled was the same size as the G, pretty much. Okay, and then press enter. That's good. Then we can just take that, select them both, just move it down a part. Don't move it too far down because it's obviously the flare I've set up there, which is just wrong now. But I can control T that, move it down that bit, and then stretch it up. Press enter, and I'm going to actually add a layer mask to that. Then get the brush, paint in black, and just take out the edges. So still got your flare in. Oh. And I think just to finish it off, you can do some hue saturation. Just change others you like. Change all the yellow to any colour you want. Okay, I'll do. And maybe just add a quick levels adjustment on top of that. And there you go. I think that's close enough. The rest is just fine tweaking till you like it. And I'm sorry that video turned into nearly 30 minutes, but I hope that gets you going, and good luck. I'd like to see your results.